Welcome to First Watch, Rewatch, the podcast where one of us is seeing a show for the first time.
And the other one already knows what's coming.
I'm Sarah, and this season I am on the Rewatch.
And I'm Tom, watching The Good Wife for the first time. Manominat.
And today we're covering season 1 of The Good Wife, episodes 1 and 2, pilot and stripped. So let's see how this goes.
Odd name for a second episode, but
yes, it is. We're going to see how this works with me in the lead, I guess. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, for today, we are covering these 2 episodes, and we're just going to give information about these 2 episodes absolutely up front. We're not going to separate it out, do it all together, because I have some thoughts on how we're going to address this. Is that all right with you?
Well, we said that we would have some new things in season 2. Yes. I was not expecting this, but it is your hosting job this season, so you do what you want to do.
Perfect. Excellent. So, going to just give you the basics for these episodes. So the first episode is the pilot. It was directed by Charles McDougall, written by Robert King and Michelle King, and the original release date was September 22nd, 2009. So I know where I was and what I was doing at that time. You were like still in elementary school, right? Because you're so young and spry.
No. This would have been the start of my second year of college at UW Marathon County, which it still exists as a place, but is no longer called that. And I was in my apartment in Wausau, Wisconsin, around that time.
Interesting.
This was past that first year or semester where I was drinking 30 packs on a weeknight.
Oh, God.
Pounding them away like good Wisconsin boys do. Now, this is much more in the toned down time. And I'm trying to remember. I don't remember almost anything that happened during that second year.
Okay.
Which is weird.
Were you watching this show? You were not, because this is your first time ever watching this.
That is correct.
Do you remember hearing about it at all at the time?
Yeah. I mean, I knew that it was on.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to even think of, like, for TV, what I would have even been watching around this time. I think Scrubs had gone off the air, so this still might have been in the era where House was on, and that was a big thing for me as a show. Like, I watched that every single week. I think that was my Tuesday nights, so that's when I made tacos. Every week.
Taco Tuesday. How original. That's
great. I know. I had like a pasta Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember which day it was, but
pasta Wednesday or Thursday. So what kind of pasta?
Like I'm a white sauce guy. I always have been.
Okay.
Because I find most red sauce to be a little watery and less flavorful. If it's a little bit thicker, and also if the sauce is not the main component. That was the other thing. And this is the one problem that I have with my mother's pastas. And if you're listening, Mom, well...
Hi, Mom.
Yeah. It needed to be said at some point. And I've tried to express this before, but you drown the pasta in your sauces. Your sauces are great, but they do not need to be the main thing. The noodle is the thing. That's the pasta. That's what we're supposed to be eating, not the frickin' sauce.
So what's your preferred pasta shape?
Ooh. Probably linguine.
So like fat spaghetti, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you have like spaghetti and then like angel hair, but then you have linguine.
I mean, I like most of them in that family, and I like the aspect of the... I don't know. It's kind of therapeutic for me to do the twirling and whatnot.
Yeah, got it.
But I enjoy very much a good scampi. I enjoy a good Alfredo. You know, most of the stuff in that realm. Now, for that point of view, my mother, when she does her homemade stuffed Parmesan ravioli with her lemon butter sauce. That is the right amount of sauce.
Okay. Good to know. So I like the flavor of white sauces. However, it's very easy for them to split and not be so great. So I actually prefer red sauces. I understand why you would be like, it shouldn't be watery, but you can just keep cooking them and they'll reduce, right? So they're much thicker and they're not flavorful enough. So you add more flavor. I just grew up like making spaghetti, like
usually not
scratch.
Enough garlic, not enough basil for my taste either, but that's...
Well, and see, I just dump that shit in there. So anyway, we've talked enough about pasta. Let's get back on the road. So
yeah, because we're supposed to be in Chicago, and while they have okay pasta there, that is not what they're famous for.
They are famous for terrible pizza and pretty okay hot dogs.
Why is it that I am the only friggin' defender of Chicago deep dish pizza?
Okay, so for me, and I had...
We're so far afield.
We're so far afield. We are! Well, okay, you remember the only time I've ever gone to Chicago is when you and I basically first met, like 2 summers ago. And we were traveling out there by train.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, now I remember.
Told me about your favorite painting at the Chicago Art Institute. Yes. So I had the pizza, and it's not that it tasted bad. It's just wasn't like pizza. It was like having lasagna with bread.
I suppose that's fair. I'm not a huge fan of the crust, and it is different. I also don't like the fact that you order a pizza and like an hour later it comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, again, the flavors are good. I just don't like the structure or the format. And I'm so sorry if we have any listeners from Chicago. I love your city. I would love to come back and visit. I like many other things, but pizza is not it.
Okay.
There.
Since we're on, so for Chicago listeners, just so that we're abundantly clear.
Uh-huh.
Your hot dogs are absurd.
No, they're delicious.
Okay, hot dogs by themselves are delicious, but with these like weird sesame seed buns,
no,
and
I'm into it.
The tomato and all the.
I like it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
No.
Yep. Yeah, it's great.
Mustard, and some onions. That's all you need.
But no. The whole point is to have something different, not go get the thing that you're used to all of the time. I tried the Chicago pizza. I would not do it again. But I liked the Chicago dog, and I would definitely do that again because I'm only going to do that in Chicago. And also at that hot dog place that's right over there, that's Windy City Hot Dogs. They do it. But otherwise, I'm just going to eat hot dogs with mustard. The whole point is you go and you eat something different.
Okay. Just again, so that we're abundantly clear on all of this. I only ever want to visit your city. I never want to live there.
Oh.
And only in brief windows of time. I need to go back and spend an entire day at the art museum because it's been 7 years since I've done so.
Mm-hmm.
And I have on multiple occasions spent an entire day walking that museum. And there's probably a bunch of new stuff that I haven't gotten to. There are several great museums I enjoy visiting. But fuck your sports teams, and I could punt all of your sports fans into the sun.
Thomas and I do not agree that he gets his own disclaimer this year, since we're talking about...
I think on the day that this is going to come out, or excuse me, a week from the day that this will come out, I will be at a Cubs game actively trolling all of you.
I mean, Wrigley Field is wonderful, and I loved seeing a game there. And the night that we were there, the Cubs won, and it was so
Fly the L, baby. Fly the L.
Oh, my gosh. Thomas. Thomas gets to express whatever opinions that he has.
You're
and
damn
I'm gonna
right.
express whatever opinions I have. And since we aren't going to really be talking politics in this show, I can say whatever.
I don't know if that's true.
It's true. We might actually be talking politics.
There's a lot of legal. There's a lot of... I mean, it's not more explicit as, like, Democrat and Republican, but there are some politics in here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some con law.
There is. I know. It's kind of silly. Are you excited to talk about it, though?
I don't think you're going to like what I have to say, but that's fine.
That's okay. Why? Because you don't like the show?
I didn't say that.
Okay, so then let's get to it. All right, so this first episode is the pilot, and here's a little synopsis. After having to return to work following her husband Peter Florrick's corruption scandal and incarceration, Alicia Florrick is assigned her first case at the firm of Stern, Lockhart, and Gardner, a straightforward retrial of a woman accused of murdering her ex-husband. Since her firm successfully deadlocked the first jury, sticking to the same strategy should work again. But Alicia soon discovers that she has a real fight on her hands. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, I'm going to go straight to the next episode and give an overview of that one. So the second episode is called Stripped, directed by Charles McDougall, written by Robert King and Michelle King. We do not actually have...
For the sake of myself, I think it's McDougall.
McDougall? What did I say?
McDougall.
McDougall. McDougall. You're right. You know what?
I might be right. I said I think. It's traditionally pronounced McDougall, but...
McDougall, yeah. That's fine. And this one aired on September 29th, 2009, and here is this synopsis. Alicia and Will Gardner represent a stripper who was raped at a bachelor party by the groom, a young man from a wealthy Chicago family. On the personal front, Alicia confronts Peter over his indiscretions, and she debates whether or not the children should visit him in prison. The Florrick's kids, Zach and Grace, find doctored photos of Peter's indiscretions sent anonymously for Alicia, but they hide them from their mother. Ooh. Okay. So, the first thing I want us to talk about is just the opening sequence of the very first episode. Give me your impressions. Just like your first reaction.
Oh, this is why they call it that.
Mm-hmm.
The title makes a lot more sense in the first 30 seconds. Now, the second thing I thought was, isn't that Mr. Big from Sex and the City?
Yes. Yes, it is. I've never watched Sex and the City, but yes.
I only watched like one season just to see what it was like many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like 2013 or 2014, and I never went back to it because I'm like, I'm not that interested in this. It was much more risque when I was like 13 and looking for nudity material.
Okay, yes.
But,
got it?
Yeah.
And that was your only thought? The title makes sense, and that's Mr. Big.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Because, I mean, there's a little bit of a shock factor to it.
Right.
There's a little bit more going on, and it kind of just juts you into it. Mm-hmm. But I figured they would do more explanation with it over time. So, yes, in watching it for the first time, I'm like, okay, this is the normal press conference that somebody gives in a position of power when they're resigning from their office and they're in disgrace and whatever else. And she's standing there, but she's not just taking it. So this is supposed to somehow be tied into that. And I thought, okay, so this show would probably give a lot more explanation on that. This was our jumping off point. And then it interjects her immediately following that sequence and the title card and whatever into like 6 months later, and we've apparently already had a trial, which doesn't make any sense. What trial for that kind of like political corruption would have taken place in 6 months or less. Okay. And they've slowly like leaked out details and things that supposedly happened over these first couple of episodes. But that's apparently not what the show is about. The show is about her putting her life back together and creating this new life beyond that, even though this is her persona is as the good wife. Okay, well, that would have been a much more interesting jumping off point than this, what we eventually get, which is one of my biggest criticisms. This is a CBS show. Most CBS shows are written for the can't find the remote crowd.
Okay.
And it's procedural. It's case of the week. Mm-hmm. And my number one criticism is that often in this show, of the very few episodes that I've seen, there is either a Perry Mason moment at every commercial break, or at the end of each episode, some weird deus ex machina that comes in and just saves the day so that we can move the cases along. And I wish they would have taken time to like lengthen these out. Have one case that's like the overarching of the season or something that extends these out, because cases like this, a trial, does not take place in such a very confined space. Even if there was a previous trial, they would still take their time to move forward. Again, with even an expedited trial, you're spending weeks, a lot of time to try and prepare. The course of a trial can take up to a week or 2 weeks, and we just move through each piece of this extraordinarily quickly, spending almost no time on the details, and just, I don't know. It bothered me.
Okay. So you didn't see in these 2 episodes then that there's any sort of arc. It's just throwing her and now she's a lawyer, and
I think she has an arc. My problem is that they've introduced so many different things at one time. True. And they spend time on none of them.
Sure.
So she knows the partner, who's too young to actually have been like a partner. I mean, even in 15 years, if you're a partner that quickly and they're basically in this big shoe law firm and they're the only two, Christine Baranski and I think it's Will Charles. Is that right?
Will Gardner.
There's
actually a third guy that we haven't.
I think it's Josh Charles, and I mixed it. So,
yes.
Yeah, Will Gardner. But anyway, if he's like that effective that he was like top of his class at Georgetown and whatever else, he's still in probably his late 30s, and he's a partner. Not to mention like theoretically one of the name partners if he's making that level of decision. We could have spent time with him. We could have spent time with Christine Baranski a little bit more. We could have spent time with her kids or her mother-in-law, or I don't know, the guy we literally heard from first in the course of this show, the guy who supposedly has ruined everybody's life. But we just throw them all in and give them like 30 seconds apiece, and we're going to focus on this court case that also moves too quickly for me. The pacing of this is all wrong from an actual legal perspective, and it just goes mile a minute because we need to churn this. It feels so ADHD.
Well, and this is kind of the complaint that I had about some of the episodes in The West Wing, when there's too many things going on, but that was only when there was like 3 or 4 things going on. This is like so many things going on. And I totally agree. The first episode is super chaotic, and it's been, so I did not watch this when it was first on. I watched it within the last 10 years, maybe 5 years, maybe. And I've only watched it once. So it's almost like I'm seeing it for the first time. Like, I know the overall arc, but there's so many things that I've forgotten. And I had forgotten how chaotic this first episode is. And it is so much. And like the fact that they do this whole scandal and it's immediate. And then you're right, they cut right to this like walk and talk, by the way, of her being in this office, and it's her first day, and she's walking and talking with Will, and then she's walking and talking with Diane, and I was like, I know where that got invented. But yeah, it goes really, really fast. And eventually we are going to get more information about all of these characters. We're going to get more information about Will. But within the first 2 episodes, it is it's like chumming the water, essentially, I think.
So I don't mean to compare and contrast because these are 2 very different shows that we've watched now. But in the pilot episode of The West Wing, we focused a lot on Josh. We did a little bit of peripheral on CJ. We got a few other characters, but they were kind of like, we didn't focus on them that much. I want to say we were focusing on like the main 4 or 5 characters. Sam, Josh, CJ, Toby, and why am I drawing a blank on the chief of staff? Leo. We got those 5, and then the drop in at the end by the president where that's the Deus Ex Machina from that pilot episode, I'll admit. But that one worked for me where like you felt like the characters were all fleshed out in their own way. This one, we had the husband, we have her, we have the new state's attorney, we have her secretary, who's not really her secretary. We have the other guy that's hired that she's competing with. We have the investigator, her mother-in-law, her 2 kids, the 2 partners. So we're at 11 there. And then we obviously have the case of the week with the woman on trial and the opposing judge and opposing counsel from the other guy. Now,
and the investigator. So now
I said the investigator.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, her, because that one's like more introduced. But obviously, like the judge and the rest of that is all a little bit more periphery. But we're talking at least 8 main characters that we're getting somewhat introduced to. Now, I will say, that being said, I feel like I've seen a bunch of these people in other things. So when Jillian Jacobs pops up as the secretary, I'm like, oh, from Community.
Community literally, like, premiered at exactly the same time as this show. And so she's basically out. Like, okay. Yeah. It's funny because I forgot that she was in this, but it's because she's there for a brief second. I went and looked it up, and I was like, oh, Community is literally like maybe the week before or the week after or concurrent. Yeah.
And often with TV shows, especially around like 80s, 90s, and 2000s, you'd often get something filmed for a pilot, and then there'd be like a total shift or change between the pilot filming and the second episode. Yep. And there did seem like there was a bit of a shift in the characters and how they were available and some other things.
Yeah.
That maybe wasn't as dramatic on a couple of other things. As far as like the set design and some of that, I felt like the second episode took place in a completely different space than they were for the pilot.
Okay.
Very much almost in the same way that Scrubs takes place in one complete location, and then they're by episode 2 they're in the location that they filmed throughout the rest of that show.
Yeah, sure, fair enough. So okay, so we're still kind of looking at like the big picture. So is there anything overall in these 2 episodes that like surprised you or like stood out or that you liked? Or I mean, you've already talked about what you really didn't like.
So to be fair, in this gap we've had between season 1 and season 2, where we haven't published anything in several weeks at this point.
Yes.
I had a chance to watch the first 2 episodes by themselves almost a month ago.
Okay, right.
Just to at least like start the prep and getting used to things. I will say the second time that I went through these set of episodes to basically refresh my memory of it, I enjoyed it a little bit more, but the character development is not there yet.
It's sparse.
Now,
yeah.
What I will say is I tend to give, and I think this might be where you came at it a little bit better. You weren't limited by only watching 1 or 2 episodes at a time. And so if we became more consistent with this, where I was like watching 1 or 2 episodes a week or something, it might snowball a little bit, because shows do need a dozen or so episodes to figure out what the show is before they get going. And I obviously understand this being a 7-season arc show that now has a bunch of spin-offs and other things that is being done, that this has some attention span for the people that watched it. That, like, there's interest in still seeing these characters and seeing the evolution of things and how it went about. But I wonder, like, when that point will be where it feels like we're truly invested in these characters. And particularly in our main character, where I like our main character, but I don't know her yet. I don't feel like I've gotten enough information to really let me inside her head.
Do you think that might be, though, because she doesn't know herself? I mean, so part of the...
It's possible.
Part of the conceit is that she went to law school, but she basically gave up her career to have kids and support her husband. And so, therefore, she didn't get to do all of this stuff. So she is coming basically into this firm, basically like a spring chicken, and yet having an entire adulthood worth of life experience. And so she doesn't know how to do the lawyer stuff, but she doesn't know how to not be so she's caught in between those two worlds right now anyway.
The moments we had fish out of water syndrome I thought were effective, and they worked well. Because you could see the vulnerability and her struggling and all of the things where she wasn't involved yet, but it felt like she got her footing, like, really quickly without having these transitional moments or whatever else. So we kind of jumped from one to the other. Now, I have never been married, and I don't know what it is to necessarily sacrifice a piece of your own identity or things for your significant other. So it's harder for me to relate to that portion, but the point is well taken. However, I would have thought that there's a little bit more to understanding the vulnerability, the choices made, the protectionism at times with this character that I'm not there for yet. And so I wonder to a degree if this, and this is kind of the way that I feel about a lot of CBS or frankly just procedural shows in general, if this is a premise that they had a okay plot fleshed out, but that they didn't know what the story was yet.
Okay.
And I separate those two things out. There's the plot, the day-to-day types of things, what's going to happen in court, how they're going to have their Perry Mason moment with the plastic bag and all the other stuff. And I very much felt like we were watching American Beauty there for a moment.
Yes.
But I wonder how much of the essence, the other flow of the show is there yet. And I'm waiting for them to kind of work on those pieces, which is harder to do when you don't have enough screen time to develop those pieces because it's a case of the week type show.
Right. Well, and in this pilot episode, essentially what you have, if we distill it down to just the case, right, it's basically 12 Angry Men on a much smaller scale, right? You have juror number 9 who becomes a holdout, and then they're like, fine, we're just gonna deadlock the jury because we can't, she exhausted us, all of this type of stuff. Well, my vote was worth just as much, and like she doesn't, anyway.
But she has no good reason for it, unlike Henry Fonda, who like...
Oh, exactly. I'm saying it's an attempt at it, right? But so it is basically, if we have all of the other things that are going on in this episode, which is like, 45 minutes or whatever, and you have 85,000 things going on, but you also have this case, but then you have this one little moment. So now we're down to maybe like 1 or 2 minutes of juror number 9 and trying to do 12 Angry Men, and they're just 12 exhausted jurors or whatever. So it's not quite as effective because there's all of these other things going on. But we do have also Kalinda, the investigator, right, asks Alicia and it takes till the end, like, why are you still here? Why are you
Is she the second primary character in this show? Because it very much feels like Cagney and Lacey.
Well, okay, so I would say that basically in terms of like the main cast, you have Alicia, you have Will, you have Diane, you have Carrie, and you have Kalinda. So it's basically those 5. And then everybody else kind of swirls around. And Carrie becomes more of a character, front and center. He's not at this moment. Obviously, they're competing against each other right now. And of course, we have like a rotating wheel of judges. So right now, we've seen different judges every time, but eventually they're going to come back around and we'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that judge.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, it's basically those 5. To varying degrees.
Sure.
The people that Alicia is interacting with the most right now is basically Kalinda, because Kalinda is supposed to be helping her figure stuff out. Or I guess she's relying more on Kalinda than maybe some people would, because Kalinda seems to be like a kindred spirit in some way. She says, your husband fired me. And so they are kind of like, don't necessarily seem to like Peter very much. And so they maybe are a little bit simpatico that way. So yeah, that's what I would say the main characters are. But there are so many characters, and there's going to be so many more. And yeah, I mean, we have like the new state's attorney, the new the ASA, who's like trying to get her goat all the time, all of that type of stuff. So yeah, it's a lot.
Well, you would think naturally there would be recurring characters in a legal field, even no matter, like in a city the size of Chicago, you would think that there'd be a little bit more variance than your local, for example, where my dad currently resides. There are 4 district court judges in Wood County, Wisconsin. So you'd see, if you were doing a lot of criminal trials, you'd see a lot of them over and over. And I think there's only like a couple of DAs and assistant DAs. So the repetition between all of them would be that much more. Whereas I have to imagine from a district court judge perspective, and the amount of, I guess they call them state's attorneys in Illinois, but state's attorney, you're going to have, I would say, like a selection of 50 different state's attorneys and like 25 Cook County district judges minimally. And even then, Cook County is so large that I would have expected that they would have had multiple different courthouses, which again is why I'm finding it strange that the new state's attorney, who should have better things to do, is somehow hanging around the courthouse as much as he is in these first 2 episodes. Like, is he just there to watch her? He has nothing else to do?
Well, it seems a little bit weird, right? So he's the guy who replaces her husband, and she seems to be getting a lot of attention, right, from outside sources, right? So from the new state's attorney who literally took her husband's job, from opposing counsel who previously worked under her husband, the judges that her husband interacted with, right? So she is automatically on the opposite side of everywhere her husband was. So all of these people know her husband and are expecting certain relationships with her, certain things to come out. The first judge that she meets, and he's just like, me and your husband didn't get along. And clearly opposing counsel is like trying to like pull one over on you, etc., etc. I like those little dynamics because you just don't know. So why is Childs hanging out, watching her? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is there something nefarious going on? Like, we don't necessarily know, but it feels a little bit weird and creepy, and I don't think it's supposed to be normal. I think it's supposed to feel weird, right?
Well, I just find it odd that a guy in that big of an office and that much of a political position would ever be in the courthouse, period, unless there was like an enormously high-profile case.
Well, right, but but the reason he's there is clearly because she's there, right? And so because her husband, I think it's very obvious that he's there because she's there. Because her husband is caught up in this scandal that is like sex and drugs and corruption, right? So how can his wife now be practicing law? What is she doing? I mean, there's accusations that like he's giving information, right? Or her husband is giving information. And that's how they get this extra stuff, so that he is somehow manipulating the legal system on both sides. Before, he was doing it within the state's attorney's office, and now he is doing it through his wife, which is not the case. But wouldn't it make sense that you'd go and like put a little eye on her just a little bit?
No, not okay. If you're talking like a random rural county judge, fine. But the guy who is the ranking state's attorney from Cook County being in any courthouse is ridiculous. That job is all about assigning cases and seeing what's going on in your office and administration. He's too busy in that job to be hanging around a courthouse. He is not practicing law. He is an administrator. That's why I find this to be awfully convenient for the point of the story and the plot line. Like, if he had not ascended to the top job and he was like still a mid-level guy, I'd find it a little bit more believable. Just personally. Now, that being said, do you have anything else from this episode, though, that you wanted to discuss? Because otherwise I'm going to jump right to the ending, and I wanted to just briefly touch on that before we move into
go right. You can,
Okay, so as far as the ending goes, I also find this incredibly unbelievable from what I understand of trials and cases and the rest of this. First off, we're to believe that they lost a murder trial on a hung jury, and they're so invested, they feel they have such a great case after a hung jury already, that they're going to try the case again, which is extraordinary. That is a rare step to be doing that. But then, in addition to that, you're going to stop your own case before it goes to a verdict to reopen the investigation, and then you drop the charges as a result after spending not just money on one trial, but 2 trials? Boy, somebody would be eating it. Like, seriously, if you went through 2 trials, you don't have a conviction, because trials are incredibly expensive for the government.
Okay.
I don't buy that. That seems really extra convenient for the purposes of something that would happen at a TV episode. No, they would railroad her and be like trying to negotiate a deal every which way they could.
Okay. That's fine. You know what? Well, here's part of why I wanted to do this show, because I have a different perspective of it as just like a layperson watching it with some experience, like in law because of my father, right?
Sure.
And also hanging out in courtrooms, watching him do stuff.
Okay, I'm glad you added that last part.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you just hung that out there.
Just hanging out in courtrooms as a defendant? No. I spent a lot of time in courtrooms with my dad when I was a kid.
Also an important end to that sentence.
Yes. Yes. Because my dad's an attorney, which I should
otherwise I was going to ask how many times you've been divorced?
Never had to go to court. So it's interesting for me on this very like pure entertainment level with a little bit of insight, and then being like, this is essentially a world that you are already involved in and then are going to be more fully involved in when you are done with law school and stuff like that. So you have a unique perspective. And so I knew going in that you were going to be able to pick apart all of the things and be like, this isn't real, this isn't real, this isn't real. But what it comes down to then is, are you being entertained? Is it believable enough that you can like be like, yeah, okay, I was watching it and I was enjoying it? Or is it too much like, I know how the sausage is made and I ain't buying it?
Let me be clear on this part of it.
Yeah.
My criticisms of the show are because I'm watching it through a critical eye for the purposes of this show.
Yeah.
That being said, I have in no way thought at any point that I'm like, I can't watch this. I'm just done. Or, we can't. No, fair is fair. It's my turn to sit on the first time watch side and see what else is going there. And I don't think that this is I don't feel like this is a trash show in the same way that I did like Letterkenny.
Okay.
That I'm just like, nope, I'm gone. I'm sorry, I can't do this. This is so lowest common denominator. I have my criticisms. I will continue to have my criticisms. I'm hoping the show grows into something where I enjoy it without being able to fly spec it. But right now I'm in the mode where I'm just hoping this develops into something, and I can see that there are good actors in the show that I could like, but they need to be fleshed out more and give me some more space with them.
Yeah, absolutely. 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 So then anything that you wanted to say about the other case, the stripper case?
On a larger theme, I feel like we're in a significantly different era of sexual assault than we were when this show came out.
Okay, yep.
So it is 17 years later? 15 and a half, because this was September of 2009, so not quite 17 years later. But there's been so much that has happened since then, and for them to just throw out like Duke Lacrosse as the leading thing that people think about when a public-facing or famous person is charged with rape or is like at least accused of it felt very lacking in the modern context that we would go through. Not to say that that's a bad thing, but this is a much more fleshed out topic that we've gone through multiple different crusades on. So there was the Me Too, then there was the backlash to the Me Too, and now there's the backlash to the backlash of Me Too.
Right.
And I just wonder how much that might have informed something like this. That being said, tying it in so closely and so right away, starting this episode with Alicia having that, I don't know if you could call it a nightmare or what exactly it was, and then ending on her listening to the tape and having it be involved with Peter, I thought was a little bit better for the development of the show and that angle. But since they keep listing him as a special guest star, even though he's been in every episode I've seen so far, I wonder how much of a central character he is or is not to the development of this show.
You'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to say.
Obviously, I'm not going to ask you for that, but it's just at least an open thought I have, because I look at the credits sometimes to just see people that are listed and how much their importance is, and when you're a guest star or you're a special guest star or something else, like you give certain notoriety based on how the credits are apportioned in these kinds of shows. And usually by season 2, you know who the mainstay characters are because they get EP credits.
True. Yeah. Very, very true. Yeah, I think that this episode is interesting because it does tie Peter back in. And she says, "Oh my God, you've slept with her. You told them to come to me." And it implies like that the scandal that he's involved in is pretty insidious, that he has a long-standing history with sleeping with call girls or prostitutes or hookers or whatever they're calling them in the show. There's drug use going on based on pictures that are being circulated. The kids are getting exposed to information all of this type of stuff. And so it feels more...
The scenes with the kids were very interesting to dive deeper into their psyche. Although, to be fair, because I prepped for 4 episodes here, so I'll bleed in a little bit. It felt like they backtracked when we got a little bit further into the show as to what the kids' feelings about the dad were. And so I'm not really sure. From episode 2, I felt like I had an understanding of where they were at, and they were wanting to be protecting of the mother, and the son had a little bit more agency. And then it kind of gets undercut by some stuff that comes later. And so I wonder in the development of those characters what their role in all of this is. Meanwhile, I think the one character who I could really establish, I know exactly who that character is. I should say there's 2. Carrie, I know pretty much right off the bat. I know he's a tryhard.
Yeah.
At all times.
Yeah.
And I know almost from the moment that... I can't even remember what the ringtone is. Is it the Twilight Zone or something?
Yes.
I know who the mother-in-law is almost immediately.
Yeah.
And everything that she does reinforces that. So those are the 2 like peripheral characters that I feel like I know very well from the outset in this show in the first couple of episodes. But I just found that I still don't know who Peter is. I still don't know all the timing on this because, again, he resigns and he's arrested. He's in prison and it's been like 6 months. So there's somehow been a trial and all of this, and they're already going to an appeal. It just feels very quick. Very, very quick.
Right. Well, and I think that the preponderance of evidence that they supposedly have over him is what would expedite all of this stuff, because they supposedly have video and they have audio and they have, which are separate, right? And then they have all of these pictures, and in fact these pictures are dropped off at their apartment, and the kids get the pictures and they hide them from Alicia. And then of course it's so great that the boy is a hacker or whatever, right? He can totally do all of the technology, and he's like, oh, it's been photoshopped. So like, these aren't real pictures, but we don't know all of what that means yet. This is why I think Childs, the new state's attorney showing up, he says, you know, I've got lots more information on your husband, so that it seems to be this very pervasive sort of thing.
It's just going to be something that's going to continue, I know, for a while. And if there's going to be an episode that like gives us all of the background at once, it'll probably be near the end of the season, would be my personal guess. Yeah.
So then out of these 2 cases, let's just focusing on the cases, which case is more interesting to you out of the 2?
I think the better legal foundation is actually for the one in the pilot, even if it does have its Perry Mason moment and the Deus Ex Machina. I don't know why Latin is all of a sudden escaping me tonight, given my profession, but whatever. Anyway, the second one, the ending to it confounds me even more. First off, when did it become a bench trial? I never figured out when somehow it was just solely a bench trial, because in a civil case, I mean, there are these preliminary hearings. There are so many things from the structure that I find lacking for the basis for where we're at. And then the first time I felt like when Childs swoops in and basically saves the case and gives them their redemption moment, that I understood what was happening. But the second time I watched it back, I'm like, what exactly are they basing their case on?
Well, right, and...
Achoo. Achoo, achoo, achoo. I'm doing that for the benefit of that it's going to flag this, so I can cut it out.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, sorry. I lost brain cells on that sneeze.
Not hard to believe.
No, I've got very few of them, so any that leave is not good news.
Larry and Ellen are disappointed that they left.
Okay, so what were we just saying? I totally forgot.
The ending and the bench trial and the other pieces that...
Isn't it because they're going to do a settlement and they offer her $500,000 and she refuses the settlement because she wants it to go to trial so that he will admit what he did. And so the question is, right, that Alicia says, you want justice. And so that's why you want to go to trial. And she's like, no, I just want him to be held accountable in public, which isn't necessarily the same thing. So it goes to trial? No?
Yeah, yes, but I'm saying, why is this a bench trial as opposed to a jury trial?
Oh, I don't know.
In a civil case. And I don't think they ever really established. I'd have to go back and try and look at it again. But all of a sudden we're going to the judges trying to make a decision between the two parties at the end of this episode. And I'm like, when did we get here?
Is it because well, okay, so then this is like, is it from a storytelling perspective? Because Judge Abernathy is this liberal judge, right? And so they have him doing this whole thing where they explicitly say, oh, he doesn't want to be biased, so he swings really far in the other direction. And so it seems like he's making decisions that don't go along with his... I mean, the fact that he says, let's have a moment of silence for the violence in Darfur.
That is by far the funniest moment of the first two episodes. I laughed hard.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I should not be laughing at this, but this is so... Yeah.
Yeah, well, but it explains the whole thing, right? Like how... Yeah. So then is it a choice to make it a bench trial purely so that this one judge has that much sway over it to kind of show how things are manipulated or not manipulated or are influenced, I guess, based on the type of judge that you get?
I don't think they would have risked it on this kind of a case on a bench trial. That doesn't make sense to me.
Show. I'm just saying just for the show.
Maybe.
What would be the other explanation?
But again, even if beyond the bench trial part of it, what does the state's attorney have now from this trial that they can base a criminal case on that's somehow furthered?
Well, and the fact that the guy gets arrested, like... Immediately? Hey, you raped someone. Like, nobody gets arrested like that for... No. All of a sudden, the evidence is there. That
felt
works.
even more like the hand of God just coming down for the convenience of the ending of the show.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so
fair enough.
Between both of these two episodes, they had yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Court TV.
It's okay. So then let's talk characters. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to go through, should I be like throwing out some names and you give me reactions, or do you want to tell me just off the cuff?
You're the host. You do what you think.
No, I'm asking you what you want to do. Okay, fine. Tell me about Alicia. What do you think about Alicia?
Like, but don't love yet.
Okay, totally fair. What about Will?
Charismatic, seems to know his job. I think I kind of love his character already.
Okay. And you can tell that there's some history between the two of them, too. So
sure, but I don't think it's romantic yet.
I didn't say that. I said history.
But the way that history normally is implied. Just saying.
All right, so what about Diane?
Not to mention you twittered your fingers a little bit.
Okay.
Diane, overcompensating like a lot of female attorneys.
Okay.
And a ball buster.
Yeah.
Can probably come around on her, but right now how they presented her is supposed to be somewhat of a foil. Like if Will is fully in her camp, this is the one that's supposed to balance that out.
Right, and they talk about, I'm so used to mentoring people, and then they talk about how she, as soon as somebody starts to challenge her or be competition, that she tosses them aside.
So I don't dislike her per se, but it's kind of, we'll see where it's going to go yet.
Sure. So what about Kalinda?
That's the hardest character. I feel like we've spent the second most amount of time with her character, and I still don't understand exactly where she's coming from. She's adopted some of my own personal instinct about legal cases and clientele. Mm-hmm. And for any clients of mine that are out there listening to this and whatever else, this isn't personal, but it's a survival tactic that I can't personally invest. I try to relate and come across as approachable so that you feel more comfortable with me. But on a personal basis, I'm not going to know the personal ins and outs of your family or your personal situation or try and connect on that level. Because if I tried to do that with the hundreds or thousands of clients, and for every case that goes right, there's always one that goes wrong. For a survival tactic for my own sanity, I just can't do that on that level. And so I feel like she's created these barriers and these buffers, but she's also supposed to be in her like mid to late 20s for some reason, because I think early on in one of these episodes, it might even be the pilot, Alicia says, I haven't been in court in 15 years, and she says, I was 12. So that would make her roughly 27. But she looks like she's in her mid-30s.
Yeah.
So it doesn't quite fit, and the naivete and the lack of maturity isn't quite there. She presents as a character that's older than she supposedly is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what to take from this character yet. I don't dislike her, but I'm kind of neutral.
Okay. Any other characters that you have any sort of feelings about?
The mother-in-law is a frigid shrew who's a manipulative witch. Mm-hmm. Peter, go fuck himself.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, whatever. Childs, I feel like, is an angel in waiting, because now this is like twice he's seemingly helped when he really shouldn't have.
Okay.
So I feel like he's misunderstood, and I'm waiting for his comeuppance. Mm-hmm. I think the kids need to be more fleshed out, but I enjoy where they're at. So that might be something that I enjoy coming back to more often, is her relationships at home and her home life and development that way. And frankly, I don't like try-hard 20-something-year-olds.
Carrie.
Yeah. That haven't had enough rejection and failure in their life yet where things have gone wrong for them. So he needs a good slap upside the head, and we'll see if he gets it.
Okay. Is there anybody that you...
Always fun to see David Paymer.
Yes, I agree. Do you have any predictions based off of these two episodes?
Peter gets murdered in prison.
Oh. Thank you for that. What a great prediction. Love it.
I've been thinking about that one for a while. Mm-hmm. And based on the special guest star and that he was not like immediately as part of the regular host of the cast, I feel like he's on borrowed time.
Okay. Very interesting. Okay.
So other things, I feel like Alicia and Carrie both get hired.
Okay.
And that they both become the pet for each one of the two primary partners.
Who's the pet to who?
So Alicia becomes Will's, like, go-to person, and Carrie becomes Diane's go-to person.
And then there's...
And they have a lot of personality overlaps between the two of them.
Okay.
where Will seems to be much more thought out, nuanced, warm. Diane seems to be more cold, calculating, efficient, less willing to listen to other people. I feel like there's some direct reflection in both of them, and I find it interesting that the partnership seem to be mixed genders on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so then let's see. Overall, what would be like who's like the MVP of these two episodes, do you think?
Childs.
Okay. From behind with a steel chair. Got it. Very good, very good. And then what would be if we're using court terms, what would be your closing argument for your introduction to this show with these two episodes?
Well, I don't know what point I would be trying to make. I mean, if I'm making a closing argument, I'm making an argument. I don't have an argument for or against this show. It's wait and see. Okay. Is this going to turn into something that's a little bit more than what it currently is, or is it going to stick to a very similar patterned formula? And if it sticks to the pattern formula, I'm going to get bored probably midway through this. So okay. I'm hoping by like episodes 10, 11, 12, because I think there's 23 here, that we have more to build on, that I feel like I'm investing in the characters and I like the characters. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think there are only the two somewhat fleshed out characters so far. So I'd like that to raise to most of the main level characters by the end, mid-season. We at least kind of know and understand who they are.
Okay. So, kind of enjoying it, not enjoying it, stuck with it because I chose it.
One thing that I've realized about myself and my own personal happiness is not in the reaching of any destination or goal, but rather my enjoyment comes in the journey and the grind of things. So even going through and watching these, even if I get like bored, I still have the discussion to look forward to, the other things that I can do about it, and just the process of putting the show together on a regular basis that is going to bring me at least some joy. So I wouldn't worry about any of that.
Okay. Good to know. Then I think that pretty much wraps up this episode of our little second season here, watching The Good Wife. So that means that next episode we're going to be covering episodes 3 and 4.
Home and Fixed.
Yeah. Pretty exciting titles.
Sounds like somebody got spayed or neutered.
All right, so then we will see y'all next time.
Adjourned.
We should have practiced that better. All right, done.